"Please stand clear of the doors." Those words are enough to snatch your breath away in anticipation of all that's going to happen next. Any guest of Walt Disney World Resort that has ever boarded the monorail at the Ticket and Transportation Center knows what's about to take place. The doors click to a close, and within seconds you're gliding across the highway in the sky, streaking toward the Magic Kingdom. And the view is nothing less than spectacular as riders look out across the panorama of the Seven Seas Lagoon and take in the sight of Cinderella Castle. It pierces the sky of Walt's Wonderland of fun. The WDW monorail system has been in operation since opening day back in 1971. And travelers over the years have discovered that in many ways, once they climb aboard this unique mode of transportation, it confirms the fact that they are going into another world. The monorail is perched atop a 26-inch wide concrete beam supported by separate columns. The system was expanded in 1982 with a 4-mile extension from the Ticket and Transportation Center to Epcot. Covering 13.6 miles, the monorail system will carry over 150,000 guests to the Magic Kingdom and Epcot parks on an average day. And the double beam track that circles the lagoon also passes through the Magic Kingdom resorts along the loop. The Polynesian Resort, the Grand Floridian Resort, and the Contemporary Resort are all sites that riders can view as they take their journey. Riding the monorail with your face peering out the window, my mind travels back to the very beginnings of this world. Because Walt Disney World is a magical place. This land where dreams come true began with the dream of one man who could see it when no one else could. And he was willing to share that dream with others. The name of Admiral Joe Fowler is not new for many Disney enthusiasts. Fowler was one of the primary builders who took what was a hot Florida swamp and helped transform it into what would become the #1 tourist destination in the entire world. Fowler shared a story of what it was like before construction started. Walt Disney didn't get the chance to see the real work on the Florida property ever happen. But Fowler would recall how he and Walt would drive all over the Florida property in a Jeep. The project was laid out, Walt would pace it off time and time again, and one day he decided he wanted to get a view of what Disney World would look like from the top of the Contemporary Hotel. What Walt wanted usually did happen. So arrangements were made, and the biggest utility crane that they could find was brought in. Joe Fowler and Walt Disney stood in the buck of that crane as it was hoisted high in the air. The higher it rose, the quieter it became. And rising above the noise of the Florida wilderness, they finally stopped at the actual height of the lounge that would be placed on the top of the resort, called the Top of the World. Fowler remembered being absolutely terrified. Hanging on for dear life, hoping to get down quickly, all he wanted to do was grab a fast glance and be satisfied that everything in the plans were located correctly. Admiral Joe saw the trip as a white-knuckle experience that could not end fast enough. For Walt Disney, it was something very different. Walt was leaning out over the side of the bucket. He was pointing out where things would be located. And with all the enthusiasm in the world, like a kid at Christmas, Disney was smiling and saying, "Oh, Joe, look at this. This is going to be great." Fowler realized that Walt could visualize it all. He had the ability to see what wasn't there, but what could be and what it would become. People in many ways live their lives on dreams of visionaries. Many of the things that we enjoy that make our life better today happen because someone had a vision, could see it before it existed, and were willing to chase and dream about it until it became a reality. We don't usually think about it, but we live our lives better because people weren't afraid to chase dreams. I may not know a lot of things, but I do know something. You and I are not here by accident. We are all unique, and we all have something that we can offer that will make an impact in the world around us. And I don't know if you can see it, but here is something that I specifically know about you. You make a difference. And sometimes we need to allow ourselves a moment to rise above the crowds, the noise, the clutter, and take a second and peer out on what might be. And then we need to hit the ground running and start chasing dreams. And that's what I hope is going to happen for you at each edition of this book that is now going into an audio format. Think of this as a travel guide, but not the usual travel guide, because we're going to explore the Magic Kingdom in a way that most have never seen it before. In the words that will follow, you'll find things on this trip that others miss. You're going to hear about some amazing things and maybe some lesser known stories about Walt Disney the man. You're going to discover where you might find some things hidden in plain sight within the Magic Kingdom, things that you've never taken the time to notice before. And you'll also find the lessons that we learn from time to time can have an impact on our lives in this very moment. Walt Disney himself once said, "Without inspiration, we would perish." And so it's my hope that as we take this trip through the Magic Kingdom, you would find a bit of inspiration. As I said a moment ago, this book is not the usual travel guide. It will point out some sites, and any good travel guide will do that. You're going to find some history and figure out where those ideas came from. And you're going to see how Walt's life is woven throughout the different things that are tucked away in the theme park. But what really sets this particular travel guide apart from any other Walt Disney World guide is that this is intended to be a guide for your life. Now you may think that's presumptuous, but somewhere between the sentences and the paragraphs and the things that we say, you might find a roadmap to a Disney-driven life where you can move beyond being a person loaded with potential to a person that lives up to that potential. As we ride the monorail and glide through the Contemporary Resort and we burst back into the clear Florida sky, our next stop is the Magic Kingdom. In just a moment, the soft click of the doors opening will allow you to disembark and head through the main gate and start exploring. But before we get any further, let me explain what's going to happen next. We're going to take you on this tour, but we're in no hurry. And each episode that we offer to you will be a new installment, a new chapter, a new place to explore. You might discover along the way that you need to go and revisit something again. And if you've ever been to the Walt Disney World Resort, you know that time and time again you see something for the 10th time, but when you're there this time you see something fresh and new. Don't be afraid to do that with this particular travel guide. And then, once we begin our journey, we're going to move from land to land, and we're going to see places tucked away in those places that you may never have seen before. So, what I'm trying to say to you is, although I am your narrator for the journey, this really is your travel guide. And by the time we're done, we'll have taken a trip, I hope a magical trip, through the Magic Kingdom, and you will discover how to start living a Disney-driven life. So it's time to disembark, and it's time for the journey to begin.